Welcome to Buckets. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Jet Network, joined by my colleagues, professional bettor Raheem Palmer and NBA futures analyst Brandon Anderson. This is your Tuesday workshop. We're going to break down Game 2, Celtics Bucks. Game 2, Warriors-Grizzlies. Sides, props, totals, everything you need to know, and all that information can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. Best way for you to track your bets, get up to the second info on where the bets and money are coming in. All sorts of great info in there, signals on sharp moves, all sorts of cool stuff. Plus, you can follow Raw and Brandon's picks, as well as the picks that we discover here in this here podcast, like Bucks under 106.5 team total. Thank you. Yes, I got very concerned towards the end of that game, but Mike Budenholzer comes through for us despite the win, which is where we are going to start. Fellas, no Chris Middleton. What are we going to do? How are they going to hang in? What are the Bucks going to do? And Giannis Antetokounmpo has a bad shooting night and somehow still destroys the Boston Celtics in game 1 of that series. So now the Celtics are 4-point favorites. This was 4.5. It's moved down to 4. Total is at 214.5 down to 215.5 in game 2. Lots to kind of dig into here about like what we expected versus what we saw. My favorite stat of many from this game is that the Boston Celtics shot 10 of 34 from 2-point range. It was both the second fewest 2-point made field goals in the 3-point era and the 9th worst percentage on 2-pointers in the shot clock era in a playoff game. Incredible defense from Milwaukee. It was not just Boston missing shots. They really did mess them up. All that said, Raw, home teams that are favored in the semifinals down 0-1 in game 2 are 14-5 against the spread at 73.7%. I like Boston minus 4.5 here. I like Boston minus 4. I think the money's coming down. Milwaukee's getting a little too carried away here, Raheem. This Boston team is still pretty good. They're not going down 0-2.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think there's a even greater stat than that. Top 3 seeds coming off a game 1 loss are 28-16. That's 64%. So this is a good way to play that zigzag theory. And I mean, like you said, I know that the Bucks play some solid defense, but when you look at the Celtics team, they really did shoot poorly from 3. Yeah. And I think one of the things that this Bucks defense does to you is that they do make you one-dimensional in certain aspects. But this is not the Chicago Bulls. Like, all due respect, DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, but Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are a step above that. Jason Tatum was 6 of 18 from the field. Jaylen Brown was 4 of 13. As a whole, this team was just 18 of 50. So I expect them to shoot the 3 a little bit better. To me, I think there were some encouraging signs there for Celtics. And one of them was that they slowed down Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I think if you can slow down Giannis, you still got to make those other guys beat you. And I think the Bucks, they were able to dominate them in every other statistical category, whether it be turnovers, offensive rebounds, fast break points. I think some of that changes up and that gets them the win here. So I agree with you on the Celtics. I'm gonna roll with the Celtics as well, but I'm gonna wait for the line to go down.
So I've just made the case for why I like the Celtics here. I'm gonna bet the Celtics, etc. I do want to push back on something you said though. So expected shot quality on 3-pointers only, not on the entire game, on entire field, but just on 3-pointers via second spectrum data. The expected shot quality for Boston, even factoring the shooters that they have, the specific guys shooting, was 56% effective field goal percentage. The Celtics had a 54. It was only a 2 percentage point differential. It's basically the Bucks still forced them into bad shots. Now, on non-3-pointers, boy, this one is pretty hilarious. The Celtics shot, Brandon, 28% worse than expected on 2-point shots on the 34 that they took inside of the arc. So, Brandon, I'll ask you this. 1, how worried are you about the Celtics now? And 2, what's your best bet for this game?
I'm going to start with my best bet. I am just sticking with what we did in game 1. I'm going to play the Bucks team under again. It's a point lower now. It's 105.5. The thing that I was most confident of coming to the series was Boston's defense would be very good. Milwaukee's offense would struggle to score. I did not see anything in game one that put me off of that. Giannis shot 9 of 25. He's going to make some of those, but those were contested. Robert Williams was defending really well at the rim. They're tough shots. Drew Holiday scored 25, only 5 of 15 on 2-pointers. He made 3 threes. Like early in the game, Boston was threatening to run away, but Drew hit a couple of threes. Like they kept hitting these open threes. Every time Boston would get up by 7 or 10 or something, Milwaukee would hit another 3 and kind of get right back into it. And that stuff evened out over the game. But early on, Milwaukee's offense was just not finding answers. So I'm sticking for my best bet just with the same thing that I knew, which is that I don't trust the Bucks offense to score enough. I'll take the under 105.5. That said, to your question, I am more concerned with the Celtics overall because the other side of the equation is the part that I was less certain of. And now I feel even worse about it than I did going in. I don't feel terrible about it. I'm not panicking on Boston, but the 2-pointers thing, sure, they're not going to be literally historically tragic at it again. They can't be that bad again, but that is Milwaukee's thing. Brook Lopez was awesome at the rim. Giannis was great. Like their whole thing is swallowing your 2-pointers. Tatum was 2 of 9 on 2-pointers. Jaylen Brown was not hitting his twos. Like some of the guys are going to be better, but I am worried about Boston scoring. They took, what did they take? 53s in this game, I think. So I looked it up. Since during the season against Milwaukee, Boston shot 50, 50, 47, 45, and 41 threes. So Raheem, you talked about, are they going to fall in the trap of will they just shoot threes against the Bucks? That's what Milwaukee wants them to do. I'm a little worried because that's what they did all season long. And when they shot at least 41 threes, like they have in all 5 Bucks games, they're only 14 and 12 on the season. So I don't want the Celtics side here. I lean that way, but I'm a little concerned for them.
Favorites after a 10-point loss at home when they were a favorite in the first game after the first round. So the reason I took out the first round was those series are often closer and there's more variance. You get to the second round of the playoffs, you're a pretty good team. Like you're a pretty good team if you're past the first round of the playoffs. So favorites that lost game 1 by double digits. I found this one on Bet Labs. 6-1, 85.7%. Tiny sample in game 2, but 85.7% against the spread. To me, like this is just another indicator of you lose by double digits at home when you're a pretty good team. It's not a throwout game. I think there's probably I think the win probability for the series shifted massively. The problem is the series price reflects that. Like it immediately flipped. So now, do I think that there's value on Boston? Do I want Boston? I do not. I do not want Boston. But I also don't want to bet the Bucks because I think the price hasn't I'd rather wait until game 2. Boston comes out and wins. They win at home and it's okay, order restored. Maybe we get a little bit of restructuring on that line. I am liking Milwaukee a lot more just because Milwaukee, I think the biggest thing for me in that game is Grayson Allen. God bless Grayson Allen and the props. Really, that offensive boost is significant for being able to cover up. They got guys that are the Bucks made shots for once in their lives in a playoff game. The Bucks actually made shots. I don't trust them to do it again, which is why I will be joining you on the 105.5 under team total. If you can get 106.5, definitely take that. I'll be with you on that. But man, they get in a huge win probability for the series swing spot. They got the shooters to actually knock down some shots. Kevin Pelton from ESPN had this, and I think it's notable. Teams that win game 1 on the road by double digits have gone 2-10 in the series over the last decade. It happened with Memphis, Minnesota in round 1. Now you compare that with, I did look this up when we were doing our NBA meeting today, in the semifinals, when a team goes up 2-0 on the road, those teams are 11-2, and all total it's 35-5 if you win the first 2 games at home on the first 2 games on the road in those series. So must-win game for Boston, obviously, right here in the spot. Brandon, are we going to do you think that they're going to hang that 2.5 for Grayson Allen again? Are we going to get the Grayson Allen sweet spot again?
Stop. The 2.5 is up. However, I am playing the 2.5 threes. I'm probably going to skip the points right now. I'm a little cautious on Grayson. I think you saw what I saw. He came out in the first quarter when he first came in against Boston, and I was like, "Oh, the party is over." They were swallowing him up. He had a turnover. He had fouls. He was not getting his looks. His whole thing was in like a 6-minute spot in the third quarter. He had a bunch of threes, and he got her over, and then he got to 11 points and then did nothing. I think he scored 2 or 0 the entire second half. So this is not Grayson against the Bulls anymore. It's the party of just cashing our free checks in is over, but it is up at over 2.5, still at plus 125 at DraftKings. So I will still be on that one.
Do you have any other props for this game?
I do. So Giannis, we saw, had 12 assists. He had 17 potential assists. Historically, about half of your potential assists come through, and that makes sense. He's probably not going to have 12 again necessarily. We saw the Bucks just hitting those open shots, and I think that's where that swung his favor a little bit. However, it's a lot of assists. So a couple of things here. Giannis over 6.5 assists. That line feels low to me. If you're getting 17 potential assists, the way they're defending him and the way that he was great. He was great as a passer. They were great against him scoring, but great passing for Giannis. So I like the over 6.5 assists. Along with that, at DraftKings, you can bet series leader in assists. Giannis is even odds, plus 100 right now. He has 12 assists already. Drew Holiday had 5. Tatum had 6. That's a big lead. And Giannis led in potential assists. And Giannis is Giannis. Like, they're going to keep defending him this way. That exact same prop is minus 190 at FanDuel right now, and it's even at DraftKings. So I like the Giannis assists. If you think he gets 10 again, you have to play the triple-double. He's 5-1 to do that. He just did it. 5-1 feels a little long. And then Portis rebounding, even odds to get a double-double. He's kept doing that. I think he's 4 for 4 now since starting without Middleton.
Well, hang on. If Giannis gets a triple-double and Portis goes over and Grayson hits his threes, how are we going to get to 105.5 under?
We did yesterday, all those things.
Huh.
Yeah, you're right though. I did notice I've got to be careful with, like, okay, do all of my things make sense together as I'm playing this over and this over and this over? How do we still hit this under? Because I had that on in a different spot recently too. But yeah, I mean, how you get there is you hope Portis doesn't score 25. You hope he scores 12 or 15. You hope Giannis doesn't score 35. He gets 15, 20, 25. And Grayson scored 11. Like, Grayson hit his threes. I think we can still do that. So Peyton Pritchard, if they post his threes, I don't know if we'll get it. He took 8 3-pointers in 11 minutes. So he's getting the shots. He's not going to get 8 up in 11 minutes again, but I'll take a Pritchard over if we get it.
I would warn you off of that one. I think there's a chance that he gets removed from the rotation. I think Pritchard was bad. Pritchard was certifiably bad. This may not be his series. This is a very,
yeah.
But do you think he might be out entirely of the rotation? Because then it's a free roll.
Yeah, I think he might be out entirely.
Because you get your money back if he just doesn't play.
What happens if you can play him 2 minutes and then
that's true.
And then be like,
all right, maybe I'll be careful there. We may not get the line anyway.
I would just be careful. I would just be careful on it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, let's go to the other game. Golden State Warriors beat the Memphis Grizzlies by 1. Thank you, Klay Thompson, for not hitting your free throws. Really could have used those free throws, Klay. Really could have used those free throws for the minus 1.5 on the Warriors. But the Warriors do get the money line win in game 1, go up 1-0. The Warriors open at 2.5. This opened at 217.5. It's moved up to 226.5. I think a book may have hung a bad line. That's what we've got recorded in the Action Network app. So the total on this game currently is 228. It's already up to 228 in this one. Grizzlies are just the third team since 2003 to be dogs in game 2 after losing game 1. So usually if you're at home, you're favored. And usually they expect a bounce back spot, because if you lost that first one, they expect it to be moving to the other direction, but that has not happened. Raheem, you were rattled by the Warriors early in that game. You were in the Slack being like, boy, I don't like this for the Warriors. I don't like this for the Warriors. Now you got your cover, which you didn't bet, but the Warriors did in fact win that game without Draymond. So what's your big takeaway?
I mean, first things first, I got to look at this from a line perspective, and it didn't hit me until sometimes, and I think it's the most unfortunate thing about the timing of when we do these podcasts is that I tend to think about things overnight in my sleep. I have dreams. I wake up in the morning, and then it hits me. And what hit me Sunday afternoon before the game started, and I hadn't placed any bets, was that this line didn't make any sense. The Golden State Warriors were laying minus 1.5. to the Denver Nuggets last week in Game 3, and then they were laying. I think that they might have closed at 2.5 in Game 3 and 4, and yet they're laying 2.5 to this Grizzlies team, who we know is power rated much better. Now, I know the Grizzlies have had their problems. I know they're coming off this grueling 6-game series, but from a numbers perspective, it simply doesn't make sense. And I mean, I don't want to pull out the Chewbacca defense, which I pulled out in round 1 with the Boston Celtics and the Nets, but I think the same thing applies here. And I think from a numbers perspective, it feels like the books are kind of lining everybody up here. Look, I know everybody's going to look at this game and say, the Warriors, they lost Draymond Green. They turned the ball over on 14% of their possessions compared to the Grizzlies' 11% of their possessions. But they still did some things that were solid. I mean, obviously, they offensive rebounded well. And I mean, people are going to look at the fact that their shot quality. I mean, look, Steph Curry missed a ton of open threes down the stretch. Same with Klay Thompson. But I just think this Grizzlies team has proven to be resilient, and they're tough at home all the time. Desmond Bane was just 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3-point range. He's going to be better than that. Look, Jaren Jackson Jr., I know he had a dominant game, but I think this is a series in which he can play. We can expect him to play well. There is no Karl-Anthony Towns to put him in foul trouble and take him off the court. So I like the Grizzlies in this spot. I know a lot of people are going back to Warriors, but I just think from a numbers perspective, it makes sense. And I think this is the kind of the last stand for them. I know my colleague, Brandon Anderson, has a totally different opinion, so you'll hear what he has to say, but I kind of have to take the Grizzlies.
I don't know if I'm going to bet them because I just don't think the number's good enough. Like if we're getting 4 or more, all right, I'll take Memphis and Memphis plus 4. I think I am with you on, I'm going to fade the idea of they won and they didn't even have Draymond. You don't know. Like, we just don't know. Okay. Yeah. We don't know what that outcome is if Draymond plays.
And the one thing is too, the fact that the Warriors play so many guards, that fundamentally changes the game, because look, I'm not sure the Grizzlies were prepared for that. They were prepared for Draymond Green, and Draymond Green's a non-shooter at this stage of his career. So that's the thing that kind of caught them off guard. The only disappointing thing is that they got dominated in an area where they typically dominate, and that's the offensive glass. Teams don't normally dominate the Grizzlies in that manner. So I think they'll clean that up.
If Steven Adams is out of health and safety protocols, that might push me towards Memphis, because I do think he's playable in the series, and I do think that he helps with the glass. Like, he helps specifically with that situation. I also think, look, the expected field goal percentage, the Warriors should have won. They had a better expected field goal percentage. The big thing here is I don't think the Grizzlies played well. Like, I don't think the Grizzlies played well. I think the Warriors had a lot of things go against them, but still played well. I think the Grizzlies had a lot of things go their way, but didn't play well. So the outcome doesn't surprise me. Like, I was on Warriors, but I'm not so much swayed as to be like, oh yeah, the Warriors are going to stomp them. The series is over. If Draymond had played, they would have won by 15. That's just not how this works. It's just not how this, every time that there's no reaction like that, it tends to get corrected. I don't know if I want Memphis, though. I will say I'm going to be on the under. Rod, you and I talk about pace all the time. First half, 108. Second half, 97. Warriors got the memo. We got to slow this down versus these young pups. We got to chill out. If we run half-court offense, they cannot keep up. So my best bet's going to be on the under for this game. Brandon, tell me why the Warriors are going to absolutely smack the hell out of the Grizzlies.
I do not think that they are going to smack them. I just think that game 1 showed what I thought going in, which is that the Warriors are a clearly better team than the Grizzlies. Look, I do not think at all, well, if Draymond just would have stayed in, the Warriors would have run away with this and won by 15. I don't think that. However, here are the things that had to happen for Memphis to still lose the game at home. The Warriors had early foul trouble. Jaren Jackson and John Morant were 10 of 20 on 3-pointers. These guys normally get about 2 or 3 per game. They had 10. The Grizzlies had more threes and a better 3-point percentage than the Warriors. They shot 40%. The Warriors had 17 turnovers. The Warriors allowed 16 offensive rebounds. D'Anthony Melton had 14 points off the bench and a plus 14 with 4 stocks. The Grizzlies picked up every swing call late in the game. And I'm not saying it was unfavored on either direction, just those tough toss-up calls went Memphis' way. And Draymond missed half of the game, and Golden State still won. that to me was a backbreaker game for Memphis. You have to get that one if you're going to have any chance in the series. Barring an injury, I don't see a path for Memphis to win the series. I mean, anything can happen. It's basketball, but I think we're talking under 10% likelihood to win the series at this point, barring an injury change. So
okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I totally agree with you in terms of the outcome of the series. But what's fun about what we do for a living is we get to talk about the value, which is why I actually bet Memphis plus 2.5 minus 110 you can get at Bet Rivers. Like, it's basically I'm only paying the standard dime for, can Memphis get 2 out of the next 3 games, right? Like 2 out of the next 4 games, just to be able to get there. That's doable. You get there and it's plus 2.5. That to me is a good enough value for me to grab at plus 2.5.
So I think that the value is slightly against you. And so I had a big blow up on my Twitter about how I said at books right now, as you are going into game 2, the favored outcome at both FanDuel and DraftKings is a Warriors sweep. That is what the books are telling us is the favorite outcome. I think that is the correctly favored outcome. I'm not going to bet it because I don't think it's going to happen. But the Warriors right now, by the money line implied, are 57% to win game 2. They're 2-point favorites on the road. That means they're probably going to be 8-9 point favorites at home, especially if they win game 2. And then if they win that one, even more in game 3. So if you multiply percentages together, that's how you do this. 57% in game 2, probably 70 and then 75 in the other 2 games. That's at least 30% to sweep. And the odds that we're getting at plus 270 applies 27%. I'm sorry I had to find out this way, but the math says the most likely outcome is a sweep. For me, I have Warriors sweep 30%, Warriors in 5, 25%. That is a better than coin flip chance of this ending in 5. Your bet goes the other way. So I think it's close. I don't see great value on either side, but I don't think that the Grizzlies are in great position to push this into a long series.
Yeah, I think the one thing that assumes is that these lines are correct, because I don't think the Warriors should be favorite on the road here. Like, to me,
that's fair. But my counterpoint is you're totally right. We're assuming the lines are correct. I would actually go the other way, and I think that the line is incorrect in the other direction. And so I guess you should say that then, shouldn't I be betting it? And perhaps I should, if I actually think that.
Yeah,
you need to be betting it. If you're, and I wouldn't blame you. If that's your cap, that's sound. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think in general, there's probably value on that. Ra's got to take off. He's got an appointment that he's got to make, but we're going to go ahead and finish up with Brandon here as he continues to just shit all over the Memphis Grizzlies. So Ra, thanks for joining us. This has been your playoff kind of cap, is like, well, who's the better team? Like, they're the better team. And it's just it's not wrong. It's not wrong. I think it's what I do think matters is, would you agree with me with this? The win spread, I do think, is more reflective of the matchup. The series price is reflective of the value on the win spread is found in the matchup. The value on the series price is found in the better team.
Yeah, I think that's true. Where I'll push back on that is just the better team. The Warriors are the better team. I think you think the Warriors are the better team, but I also think that there are matchup issues on both sides here. And the way that game 1 played out, where the Grizzlies were like, oh, cool, we're going to beat you in a 3-point shootout. I don't like the look of that long term for where this series heads. If Memphis is getting involved into a land war in Asia with the Golden State Warriors, that is not the place you want to go. That the more that Golden State took their 3-pointers, the more Memphis had to get out and cover them, and the Warriors kept getting easy 2s on this game. Like, a thing that I look at is, what are the things that happened in game 1? Like, we like to do the thing where, well, Desmond Bane shot 3 of 10. That's not going to happen again. Yeah, that's probably true. But which of the things that, like, what outliers are definitely not going to go again? Jaren Jackson for sure. John Morant, 4 threes. I don't think we're getting that again. Like, to me, if you're looking through the different outliers, there are not a lot of things where I'm like, ooh, I don't know if the Warriors can do that again. If anything, I think they can hit more of their shots. They shot 65% on free throws. I don't think Clay and Steph are going to keep missing free throws, but I don't know. Steph keeps missing free throws every game. We're not going to have Draymond for half the game, every game. Like, the things that should regress positively for Golden State are there. I can come up with a lot of things that might go the wrong way regression wise on Memphis. And the right direction thing is, well, Bane and Brooks have to hit more shots.
Yeah.
And they might, but I don't know that they will. So I worry about the direction that the series is going. Grizzlies were 45% on twos yesterday versus Warriors 56% on twos. So the Warriors are more efficient on 2-pointers and typically better on 3-pointers and take more of them. And the Warriors started offensive rebounding, like Raheem said. They were even on offensive rebounds in this game, so they kind of closed that gap up. I feel like Memphis, the matchup game, quickly you start to run out of options. I didn't give my best bet for this game.
Yeah.
Here's my best bet. I like the Warriors in the game. I got burned by my 1.5 point spread in game 1. So I was like, well, do I take a money line? I never take a money line for a favorite. Do I do it here? No, I got this one. Warriors to win game 2 and the series plus money, plus 110 at DraftKings. If the Warriors go up 2-0 on the road, the Warriors as the better team, again, anything can happen with an injury, but you have to believe they're going to win that series. So I think that is a nice.
Like, why don't you just roll? If you think that they're going to win every game, which you do, like, you don't want to bet. You don't want to bet the sweep, but you do think they should be favored and will, like, you think that there's value on, like, you think that the sweep is appropriately priced. Why not just roll it over and bet it and bet this game by game? Because
do you agree if the Warriors win game 2 that the series is a wrap, like that the Warriors are winning the series up 2-0 on the road?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then I'm getting a plus 110 money line on a Warriors game 2 win, and they're a minus right now. So
I guess my thing is, like, are you going to bet that and bet them game by game? Because you should do both.
Yeah, okay. I will do both. Yeah. So
I would ask you, why don't you take an alternate line?
That's interesting. I haven't thought about that. I'll look at it. I think that you think that I am projecting the Warriors to blow them off the court, and I don't necessarily think that.
No, I don't mean by more. I meant if you don't want to pay the money line price and you don't want to pay the standard price, why don't you take an alternate line of like -1.5 again? Right? Because, like, that was really a bad beat. Like, we got screwed. Yeah. We got screwed by Klay Thompson.
Yeah. By the way, Raheem and I especially did. Raheem and I think we all were on -1.5. Raheem and I bought out. We bought out of our position. We put it into the app mid-game. I think at halftime, we both did it. We both took Grizzlies -3. So Warriors winning by 2 would have accidentally middled and won both of our bets. And all we needed was one Klay Thompson free throw. Thanks for that, buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What props do you have at this game?
I'm looking for, well, first of all, give us some props, please, on this game. Like, I know we don't know what's happening in these lineups, but give me Brandon Clark and Jordan Poole. Like, none of these lines are up yet. So when they post, we're going to get them. Jordan Poole assists. His ending the season, last 25 games, counting the playoffs, he is averaging 5.8 assists per game. He had 9 in this game. He was really playmaking well for them and really hurting Memphis defensively. He's had at least 3 assists in all but one of his last 25 games, at least 4 in 18 of the 25. I would expect we're going to get a 3.5 assist line here. So I like that one. He's gone over it in all but one playoff game, I believe. Ja Morant scoring looks like it should be a thing. That line is a bit superficially deflated after what Minnesota did, but this is a different matchup, and Ja was scoring. So I like that one. What do you think about Ja triple-double? I know we've done that a couple of times. The rebounds keep being there.
I'm not going back to it. I'm not going back to it. I think I would rather just bet the over on his points and assists. The rebounds are too stressful for me.
Yeah, the rebounds are going to be close. He's getting a lot of them, but it's still asking a lot for, I mean,
only one Russell Westbrook. I may go the other way. I'm very I thought about it this morning. I thought about putting in a Ja under points, rebounds, assist line. And the reason is it goes back to that pace thing. 107 first half, 97 second. He got enough scoring because, like, if the game is close, here's the part of it. If the game is close, Ja's going to score. he's just like, he's too indomitable and he's too incredible. Like he finds ways. He did this versus the Wolves too. Like they would blitz him, and yet in these close games, it's like Ja would find his way to make incredible plays, right?
Yeah.
But if they slow the game down, that inherently I think helps. And I'll say this: if you think that the Warriors are going to cover, you should definitely do a same game parlay of points, rebounds, assists under for Ja. Like that's correlated, because if it's not close, Ja's not doing that, and then it's all half court stuff, and they slow the game down, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I will say, if you're wondering, well, how can Brandon say Ja's not going to hit 4 3-pointers again, but then take his points over? It's because Ja only got 3 free throws in game 1, and Memphis was getting to the line a little bit too. He just wasn't. So I don't know yet if that's a thing, if that's like a scheme thing that Golden State was doing better. But I expect that he's going to, make up for the 3-point loss with some free throws. One other prop that I really like here, the thing that I expect more than anything else, and why I like Golden State in this game, Draymond Green is gonna be ready to play in game 2. Draymond, nobody shows up more motivated and like locked in and ready to go than Draymond. And maybe that goes the other way. Maybe that means 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes and a technical, and here we go with Draymond again. Maybe it does. I think Draymond's going to have an awesome game this game. I think he's going to have a huge defensive game. Draymond over 1.5 steals is plus money. It's plus 124. In game 1, he had 3 steals and a block in the first half of the game. Here are the other 2 games against Memphis this year: 2 steals, 3 blocks, 3 steals, 5 blocks. He is wreaking havoc against Memphis this year. He's over that. He's had multiple steals in 4 of the 6 playoff games. I think Draymond, we saw Memphis have some turnover issues and, play a little too fast and make some mistakes. I think he gets that. I posted on Twitter, there's not a way to bet this, obviously. I think Draymond could get a 5x5 in the series at some point if he just really fills it up.
I'm sure you ask points bet, they'll prop that for you. Yeah, I mean, look, I would go back to when we ever had a famous instance in which Draymond was suspended for a game or missed a game and then came back and his team lost. When did we have her? Oh, that's right.
When Draymond missed that game and came back, he had one of the best Game 7 performances in NBA history.
He missed Game 5.
Awesome.
He missed Game 5, friend. He missed Game 5. They lost Game 6, and that was when Steph threw the.
All right, so maybe bet Draymond in Game 3 then.
So that I like a lot more. Look, I will say this: like, I'm pushing back on you just because I don't want to count Memphis out after a loss. The other thing is, like, the whole, like, that was a backbreaker. We've seen these playoffs have been kind of that story of, like, team suffers a really heartbreaker loss and then comes back and wins. Like, that's been a concurrent story, and I'm not saying that that's going to, like, carry through in any sort of, like, tangible way. I think Memphis in that game showed that they can play with Golden State. That's what I think is kind of interesting about your, like, they're better, maybe, but I think Memphis can play at that level. Like, I think Memphis can play at that level to keep this within range, which is why I don't want to bet the Warriors and I don't want to bet the Grizzlies. I'm just going to bet the under. I think that I don't think that you're making a bad bet at Warriors minus 1.5 or minus 2.5. I don't think that's like, I don't think you have bad value there.
I think for me, that game we saw from the Warriors felt like a 10th or 20th percentile Warriors play.
Now you're doing the thing where you're like, well, the Warriors are so awesome that could play that. No, that's where you go wrong here. This Warriors team is not. You are still too much tied to that mid 2010s team. This Warriors team ain't that one, man.
No, like, I'm just saying, like, with the way that things went in this game, like, other than just Steph, Clay, and Poole just miss every shot, so many other things went wrong for them. Memphis, like, my cap on Memphis the whole season was this was a capped out regular season team that would be flawed in the playoffs. That is a thing that we saw play out against Minnesota. And Minnesota, like, look, you thought in that series, and I think we're proven right, all but the part that mattered the most, unfortunately, for my Wolves, that Minnesota was the better team. And I think Golden State is.
So but part of this, though, Brandon, is like, I just don't like. I don't think about it in those terms, nor do I necessarily care. Like, I've seen a lot of better teams lose. And what we do then is we go, oh, well, they weren't better. The other team was just better. And I think it's, like, really bad the way that we do that. That's collectively. Like, the Raptors were not better than the 2019 Bucks. I can say that because Ra's not here. Like, they weren't. There's no category in which they were better. There's no way you can look at the overall quality of those two teams and think that they were better. I'm trying to think. The injuries play a big part last year. I think that's part of that equation. But we've seen oftentimes, for me, that's why I get into the matchups, is I do think a lot of times it's like, are you on a tier? And I would agree with you that the Warriors are like a tier above, but I think that Memphis can get there. I think also part of this is I don't trust Golden State. My only concern with Golden State at this point, and like, look, I've got Warriors futures out the wazoo. My only concern is I think they have a lot harder time finding that top gear. And all kind of along, you've kind of been in the boat of like, they're going to find it, they're going to play it, that's how they're going to be. And they caught Denver off guard because Denver honestly kind of sucked. Like Denver's just like overmatched, overmanned, bad matchup without Jamal, like all these types of things. But I do kind of think that Golden State has like, I don't expect an A game from Golden State the way I used to in all these spots.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it does. And I will say this, I noticed, especially late in game one, and maybe that's unfair because Draymond was out, but I noticed this in this series, in this matchup, a thing that you could be concerned about if the Grizzlies are better than I'm giving them credit for to hang in this series. Here's what the Warriors can do with their lineup. They don't have the perfect lineup anymore right now. That death pool lineup, the pool party, whatever it is, it did not work great in game one the way it did against Denver. The Warriors can score lots of points if they put Jordan Poole out there. But if Jordan Poole is out there, they were not defending well. They can defend Ja if they put Gary Payton out there. I don't know if they're going to start him again. Clearly, he's going to play a lot and should play a lot in the series. But if he's out there, then the offense isn't as good. And they can protect the glass if they go big. And they did that for part of the game. But if you do that, then that mutes the scoring and it makes it easier for Ja to score. So they can't do all three of those things. This isn't the old behemoth Warriors that can just rampage through this team. Memphis is always going to either be able to hang with Golden State scoring wise, get Ja going, or hammer the glass. So I think if you like the Grizzlies, you have to look for them to hone in on what's the matchup that Golden State has on the floor right now. What's the lineup? We got to do this thing right now. And I do think there are ways for the Grizzlies to take advantage of that.
All right, let's go over best bets. Ron and I both like Boston -4.5. Brandon and I both like Bucks under 105.5 team total. If you can find a 106.5, grab that. We like the Grayson Allen over 2.5 3-pointers made prop again. You like the Giannis triple double as well. What was the other big prop from that game?
The Giannis assists more so. Assists over and assists leading the series.
Okay. Raw likes Memphis on the money line in this game. Brandon's going to take the Warriors -2.5. Is that correct? Or are you still deciding on?
I'm taking the Warriors to win the game and win the series +110.
+110. I think for props, the only thing I'm probably going to play in, I don't even know if I'm going to play a prop in this one. I think the lineups are too funky. If I get a Steven Adams prop, if he's announced in and I get an Adams prop, I'm going to play the over on rebounds. That will be one of the things I'll play.
Not joining you on that one.
That's fine. You think you'll get played off. I get it. I understand why you think that. It's a fair point.
Yeah.
The dynamics part of this is like what people think of the Warriors and what they actually are. They're not a pick and roll team. They're just not. Yeah. They're not a pick and roll team. You can't play Steven Adams if it's a pick and roll team. They're not a pick and roll team. So
Draymond steals over is the one prop that I'm definitely feeling good about. I'm gonna think through the rest. So keep an eye on the app on the pool Ja ones we talked about.
Okay. This gonna wrap it up for buckets. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Make sure to check out everything in the Action Network app. We're hosting a Twitter Spaces on Tuesday. Make sure to follow NBA Bet for more details on that. For Brandon Anderson and Raheem Palmer, my name is Matt Moore. Let's get buckets.